Hello, today I'm going to walk you through how I make 3 different salad dressings. These are guaranteed to improve your salad game, and they are all vinaigrette type dressings. And I'm going to tell you right now, even if there's someone in your family who says they don't like vinaigrette, I'm pretty sure there's at least one here that they will love. So let's get started. First up is a red wine shallot vinaigrette. This is the easiest one. You only need red wine vinegar, some extra virgin olive oil, a shallot, and some salt and pepper. In fact, this is so easy, I'm not even going to use a blender for it. I'm going to measure this right into my little jar. I have one of these jelly jars that has markings on the side, and which is incredibly convenient for this dressing. I'm starting with a half a cup of extra virgin olive oil, which is 4 ounces. And then I'm adding 2 more ounces, or 1/4 of a cup, of the red wine vinegar. Now when you see this pour in here, you'll see that it kind of proves that oil and water don't mix, or maybe in this case we should say oil and vinegar don't mix. The vinegar sinks right to the bottom. And just for illustration purposes, I'm going to show you what happens when you shake this up. You don't have to do this to make the dressing. I'm just kind of want to demonstrate this to you. Basically, shaking breaks up the oil and it forms, instead of a solid mixture of oil, it breaks it up into tiny little droplets, and that's why this dressing looks cloudy when you do this. Depending upon how many other things you add to any oil and vinegar type dressing will determine whether or not it will stay in suspension like that versus settling out where you have to re-shake it each time. This is a very simple one. As I said before, the main ingredient, of course, is shallot. I removed the end, most of the outer skin, and then I'm going to use a microplane to mince some of this. And the way I do this is I like to hold the shallot with the cut side up, place the microplane kind of upside down on top of it, and just scrape it across the top. And the reason I do this is I want to be able to see how much of the minced shallot I've produced. I want about a teaspoon. This is definitely a judgment call. I'm not going to measure this. And what's great about this is as you're making it yourself, you can add more or less according to your individual preferences. Now, because this is kind of spread out on the microplane and it's a small jar, I'm just going to use a spoon to scrape these all kind of toward the middle. But I'm not going to bother trying to spoon it out of there. I can just whack it right into that jar, and there we go. We just added our shallot to the jar. The only other 2 ingredients are salt and pepper. In they go. The cover goes back on, and then we shake. This is kind of about as simple of a oil and vinegar dressing as you can get, but this is one that will settle out, and so you will end up shaking it each time you need to use it for your salad. But by all means, give it a little taste. Make sure it has enough of whatever taste you want in your dressing. Next up is the Meyer lemon vinaigrette. For this dressing, we again need olive oil, a little balsamic vinegar, a garlic clove, a Meyer lemon, a little bit of grated Parmesan cheese, and salt and pepper. Now, I am using white pepper for this particular dressing. You can use regular black if that's what you have. Just cut your Meyer lemon in half, and then I'm juicing it old school way. You need about 2 tablespoons of the juice, and as you can see, we just about perfectly have that amount from 1 Meyer lemon. I always have at least 1 extra just in case, but 99% of the time, 1's enough. What I'm using to mix this dressing is this small blender. It's actually an immersion blender, which has this alternate little bowl system where you can have a little blade in there, it has a lid, and then you use the handle part of the immersion blender to be the motor. So In that bowl, we will add our ingredients, starting with the extra virgin olive oil, the Meyer lemon juice, some minced garlic, and a little bit of balsamic vinegar, and then the salt, pepper, and Parmesan cheese. Put the lid on top, and then just use the blender to blend this all together. It's usually about 30 to 60 seconds for this, and you can see this makes a lovely sunshine yellow colored dressing full of all lemony flavor. I'm just going to pour this in this nice little jelly jar, and again, cover it up and put it in the fridge. And last, definitely not least, is the raspberry balsamic vinaigrette. For this one, we'll start with extra virgin olive oil and balsamic vinegar. We're going to sweeten this one with a little bit of honey and some light brown sugar. Again, we need salt and pepper, and again, I'm going to use white pepper. Not required, black pepper's okay too. And of course, we need some raspberries. I start with frozen raspberries, microwave them, and then add a little bit of balsamic vinegar and mash them together. You're just trying to break them up into kind of a nice puree, if you will. And then we'll set this aside for about 10 minutes to give it a chance to kind of develop, and then I'm going to strain this through a sieve. I'm doing this because I want to get rid of all the seeds and any large pieces of pulp, but there usually aren't very many at this point. So I use a spatula and just press like this against the sides of the sieve. And then once you feel like you have it pretty well dry, then I use the same spatula and scrape along the bottom to collect as much of that marvelous puree as we can, because that's all your flavor right there. You'll get about 1/4 to 1/3 of a cup of puree, but I never actually measure it because I'm going to use it all in my dressing. Put that in the blender container. And once that's in there, you know the other steps, right? We're going to add the rest of the ingredients, starting with the extra virgin olive oil, as well as a nice big tablespoon of honey, 1 more tablespoon of balsamic vinegar. We did use 1 tablespoon for the raspberries, but we'll do this again, and then the brown sugar, salt and pepper, and then start blending again. Now this dressing, because of the other ingredients we're adding, you'll see this emulsifies in a different way, and it forms a really thick, just a different looking dressing. And it's probably going to be even more obvious when I spoon it into the jelly jar. But look how thick and amazing this looks. It's sweet and tangy at the same time. It has just a marvelous taste and texture. This is the one I would recommend that you use for the people who don't much like oil and vinegar or don't like vinaigrette type dressings. They won't even realize it's a vinaigrette type dressing at all. Just spoon that into your jelly jar, and it is ready to go to add to any of the salads you choose to make. Oh, and by all means, do a little taste test. And there it is, 3 different salad dressings, all set for your green salads. Have them for dinner tonight. Red wine shallot, Meyer lemon vinaigrette, and a delicious raspberry balsamic vinaigrette. Enjoy.